Hey there, welcome back to another box opening review here on my channel, and it's really good to see you all coming back for more. And I'm going to be really as quick as I can today because our camera woman Zoe isn't really feeling too well, and just the act of operating the camera is causing her immense hardship. So without further ado, let's crack on. And I've got here today, it's actually the Robinson 8K, although it does say in the box Robinson O4. And the reason for that, as you can probably see through the packaging, it's in Great Central Railway livery. And this, if I show you the end of the box, is 31001Y, and this was produced especially for the National Railway Museum, and I believe it was one of the first of their special commission locomotives as opposed to wagons and coaches. And the idea behind this was to be able to produce something a little bit different, which represented one of the models in the National Collection. And I think it was the first time that the Great Central Railway livery had actually been reproduced in model form. And really, Bachmann did such a great job on it. It opened the door for, we've had two further ones with the J11, the Great Central Railway 9J, and also the Director class, Butler Henderson as well. And there's shortly to be released another Great Central liveried version of the Director class. We've got here pretty standard packaging, so we're going to whiz through this fairly quickly. We've got a separate little packet of detail that you can put on if you so choose. I've chosen not to, and it doesn't really detract all that much, if at all, from the model. So let's open this up and get the locomotive out. And what we're really interested in here is, more than anything else, the livery application. This has been one of Bachmann's more successful models, the O4, and they've released it in the LNER black liveries, the British Rail liveries, indeed the 31001Z special commission was for Hattons, and it was a late British Rail logo ready weathered version, but this really stood out far more than any of the other versions that I've seen of this, in this very eye-catching Great Central Railway lined livery, and it's a much darker green than the Director class got, and I'm not entirely sure about this. I think it's probably a case that this was predominantly a freight locomotive rather than a passenger locomotive, and certainly it matches the 9J that was produced for the Collectors Club a little while afterwards. But notwithstanding that, certainly it was a case in the pre-grouping period that there was a lot of pride in the locomotive fleets. So even for a freight locomotive, we can see it's fully lined out, and the lining is really crisply produced, and it's really what we've come to expect from the likes of Bachmann and Hornby. But nonetheless, it always pleases me to see the lining produced really, really well like this. The locomotive itself doesn't really have any detail differences from the standard release that made it to the main range. What we've really got here as different is that livery application. And really I don't know where to start, because there's so many points to show you where this stands out and they've gone above and beyond, that really when I first saw photographs of this model in the press, I knew I just had to have it. And it's actually one of the few occasions where I've actually contacted Bachmann to find out where it was going to be possible to buy these from. They told me at the time it was being done as a commission for the Railway Museum. Now we've got the Great Central spelt out on the tender, and actually you can feel the raised effect of the tempo printing when you run your finger over like that. But it's a multicolour sort of serif style lettering in a way, and there's actually quite a few passes of the tempo machine has been necessary to get this. So really the fact that it didn't add massively to the end selling price is really quite a testament to how well and how efficiently these Chinese manufacturers can now do this. And it really is a joy to behold looking at the crispness of the application of this lettering. We've also got what would be a brass number plate on the cab there, 1185, and this is the single sole surviving UK-based at least Robinson 8K/04 that's still about, and it's in the National Collection. There does still exist, I think, 2 other examples that were shipped abroad and worked latterly in Australia, and I believe that they're still about there, nominally preserved, but I'm not sure whether certainly one, but possibly both of them have ever run in preservation. The locomotive itself was designed by Robinson for the Great Central Railway as a heavy freight locomotive using a 280 wheel arrangement. But when the First World War came along, the Rail Operating Division was looking for a standard freight locomotive, heavy freight locomotive, that they could order in numbers. And the design that they chose, off the shelf I suppose, was this particular locomotive type. So a great number of these were produced for the Rail Operating Division and saw use overseas, and indeed after the war a lot of them were either sold to other railway companies. So I believe some ended up with the London and North Western Railway. The Great Western Railway also bought a number. And Bachmann has actually produced the detail variant suitable for the Great Western liveried versions. It's quite a simple model in terms of detail that's on it, but the detail that is there is faithfully reproduced from the full-size one. So we've got this fairly simplistic valve gear arrangement, and then we've got the brake pipes and things like that. But really what is there is just accurately represented. We've got a slight downward angle on these cylinders in keeping with a full-size one. One thing I have noticed is that on some releases of this model there is some variance with the angle of the cylinder, so that's one thing perhaps to watch out for. The buffers themselves are all fully sprung, both on the tender and the main locomotive itself, and that's really what we've come to expect. The handrails on the boiler are all separately applied in very, very fine detail, and we've also got turned brass whistles. There is a very, very slight seam down the top of the boiler, and this, I'm guessing, would be more to do with the mould release from the actual moulds that make these models, rather more so than it being a detail necessitation. But notwithstanding that, it's not really desperately visible. Now, the cab is an area that I really want to bring to your attention. And you can see in there the Great Central Railway livery with the light white coloured paint, surrounds, and all of the separately applied detail on that back head. That really is going above and beyond, and certainly in the not really too distant past, I can remember when model locomotives arrived, you were lucky to get anything much more than a very basic relief in a single moulded plastic of what was going on in the back of the cab. We've got a full plate on the tender, and it does look, in fact, yes, it does. The full plate itself can be set down. I'm not going to do that because it's so delicate. I'm actually frightened that I might break it. Now, the coal insert that we've got in the tender, that is an insert and it will come out. Now, I'm not going to try and force it out because it is quite a tight fit. But what it does mean is that it is possible to remove that and model this with a lesser amount of coal in the tender. But of course, if you wanted to fit this for, say, DCC sound, the tender cavity underneath there does become a very useful spot that you can incorporate a speaker. And indeed, if I turn the model over, you can see underneath the actual moulding does come with this speaker grill ready and waiting for a speaker to allow the sound out. Now, there's really not much else I can say about this. It was a brilliant model. When it turned up, it blew myself away and also a lot of other people, because it was really an early attempt by Bachmann to produce these quite visually astounding pre-grouping liveries, and in some respects I suspect it was Bachmann's way of testing the water for a pre-grouping livery, but done through the commission with the National Railway Museum, and in that respect it proved to be a great success. It sold out very, very quickly, and if you haven't already got one of these, unfortunately, I don't really want to be the bearer of bad news, but unfortunately, if you didn't snag one of these when they were out new from the National Railway Museum, it's pretty difficult to track one down. it tends to be the case that people who bought one of these don't want to part with it. Such is the quality of the livery application of this model. But that doesn't mean to say that they won't come up, and certainly somewhere like eBay is certainly worth keeping your eye on if you really must have one of these brilliant models. Anyway, I hope this video has been informative to you. Don't forget to like it, share it too, and look back through the channel because there's loads of videos there for a whole variety of different things, something for everybody. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, don't forget to tickle that subscribe button because the more the merrier. Anyway, you take very good care of yourself. Thanks again for watching my videos, and until next time, bye for now.